In chapter 3, we're learning about how to plan nutritious diets. Now, it's very, very important for us to understand that when we plan our diets, it takes effort and it is based on what are our requirements for good nutrition. There are so many different nutrients out there, and every one of them are defined for certain parts of health. So you can't just eat some of the nutrients, you need to eat all of them, and in order to do that you have to be able to plan. And sometimes certain things influence our requirements, might be our age or our gender, and even if we have health issues that would change the requirements. So all that has to go into planning, as does your physical activity level, if you're on any types of medications. So all of these things need to be looked at, but it's a hard thing to do on our own, to know how are we getting these nutrients. And that's why, fortunately, we have something called the Dietary Reference Intakes that gives us an example of an amount we should have of certain types of nutrients a day. So some of those dietary reference intakes include the recommended dietary allowance, or the RDA. And you'll see that, so you know what is recommended each day. There's the tolerable upper intake level, or the upper level, which means you shouldn't be going beyond that. For example, vitamin D has a UL of 2,000 IUs a day, so you shouldn't be taking any more of that because there could be consequences and side effects. Adequate intake means that you're taking what you need, and then there's also an estimated energy requirement to determine how many calories we should be taking a day. So these help us in planning. With carbohydrates, you want to recommend about 45 to 65% of your calories come from carbs, and about 10 to 35 from protein, and about 20 to 35 from fat. And that's based on a 2,000 calorie diet per day. So when you have to apply these nutrient standards, you want to make sure that you are able to use these across groups of different people, right? So this is for the general, public that's healthy. And, it's good when we're trying to determine daily values and put labels on foods and say, well, how much of this ingredient you should have. Remember, if there are people that have specific dietary needs, and these general standards may not be enough, you need to then see a nutritionist or registered dietitian for help in planning a diet specifically for your needs. So when we're planning diets, what we have to understand is the major food groups. We have grains, vegetables, fruit, protein, dairy. Those are your major groups. If you're getting about 6 ounces of whole grains and about 2 to 5 cups of vegetables, 2 cups of fruit, 5.5 ounces of protein, and 3 cups of dairy in the form of milk, yogurt, or cheese, you're going to be meeting all of the requirements for eating balance in your diet. And of course, within those food groups, you want to vary. So in the grains, you're not going to just eat whole wheat, then you're not getting all of the nutrients. You're not going to just have spinach. You want to have some carrots or peppers, for example. Fruit, you're not going to just have bananas. You need to include berries. So you want to have variety within each of the food groups. Sometimes there are foods that are not really considered a food group, such as oils, and you have your empty calorie group, such as sugar and bad fats, such as saturated fats and some alcohol. So with your oils, you want to include olive oil, avocado, salmon, nuts, and olives themselves. Any of the olive oil grouping is a good source of monounsaturated fats, which we'll get into in the chapter on fats. In the dietary guidelines from 2015 to 2020, what's recommended is following a healthy eating pattern across your lifespan, from infancy through senior years. Focus on variety, make sure the nutrients are dense, you're not eating empty calories, and control your portion sizes so that you're moderating the amount of food you're eating. Stay away from added sugars, saturated fat, and reduced sodium, and have healthier beverages such as water. And you want to be able to have this, as I said, across your lifespan. When you're thinking about a healthy eating pattern, include lots of vegetables from the green variety, the orange, yellow, red, etc. Lots of fruits, especially whole fruits as opposed to fruit juices, whole grains, fat-free or low-fat dairy products, and a variety of proteins such as meat, eggs, nuts, for example, beans, and also healthy oils. So when you're planning a nutritious diet, it's really important to think about when you're increasing all of these nutrient dense vegetables and foods and whatnot, choosing these lower versions of fat for milk and dairy. That's helping you to maintain a healthy body weight, which will help you to consume less cholesterol, and it ends up overall creating a healthier version of you. So back in the day when first food groups were first came about, the pyramid, the dietary pyramid was the first thing that was out, and it came out in this form where you see that it's in blocks, and the largest is your grains, and then you have fruits and vegetables that are even, and then your protein and dairy, and what's left at the top is probably your fats and sugars. That wasn't very explanatory, so they've changed it to the color-coded version, which came out later on and showed you that grains and vegetables and fruits had different color, codes for each group. It also included the little guy running up the steps to show that you need physical activity as well. And it uses the sizes of the triangles to let you know how much you should have. So here in the oils, you're using very, very little a day, where your grains and your vegetables and your fruits, dairy are a little bit larger. This too was confusing, specifically for younger children, and we see that diabetes and obesity is prevalent in the young. So they came out with the My Plate, which kind of breaks it up to how you should design your plate. And that's a really good choosemyplate.gov website if you're interested in learning more about how to plan your plate. So we don't usually follow the recommended dietary guidelines, unfortunately. So we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. We eat too much sugar and sodium and fat. So these are things that we really need to pay attention to when we're thinking about our diet and what we need to do every single day. Planning takes time, but our health is worth the time that we put into planning.